summer and San Luis Obispo. Quite a daunting combination here as we welcome you to the Mustang Report. I'm Chris Sylvester, sitting down with the Cal Poly Director of Athletics, Don Oberhelman. And while there's so much buzz and excitement around the year to come, we've got to recap the year that was. Cal Poly second place in the Commissioner's Cup, plenty more championships added to the trophy case here on campus. And we want to break things down. And we'll start by talking about the spring that was for Cal Poly. Obviously, baseball left a lasting memory, winning the Big West Tournament Championship and making some noise up in the Eugene Regional. But beach volleyball, again, getting very close to a national championship. Another Final Four run there in Gulf Shores for Todd Rogers and that program. Don, as you look back at the year that was, there's obviously a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable spring this year, I think. Unbelievable year overall, but this spring, just thinking about what baseball accomplished at the end of the year and going to the NCAA tournament, they eliminated the WAC champion. Then they eliminated the Big Ten champion in Oregon on their home field. What we've done with baseball is we banked on the Dignity Health Baseball Clubhouse to help us with the recruiting and with talent development, player development, all those things. And I think we're seeing that really pay off at this point. We got a lot of talent returning to a pretty loaded roster, I think. I can't see us not being at the top of the conference at the end of the year again. We've finished in the top three, I think, 9 out of the last 10 years or something like that. So it's been a very consistent program for us, but it was nice to finally get back over that final hurdle and win a trophy and then go on to the NCAAs and make a little bit of noise. Beach volleyball making their now seeming perennial run deep into the NCAA tournament, made their second straight Final Four this year, national semifinals, and it's 2 years in a row we lost in the semifinals to the national champion. So I think what we've built in beach volleyball is that's just going to continue to sustain itself and feed upon itself, I think, at this point. I would also follow with what some of our other sports have done this spring. Track and field going 1-2 after going 1-1 last year is a pretty remarkable run in our program, and one of the best in our Division I era. So I'm really excited about what they've done. A lot of people returning in both of those programs as well, a lot of point scorers in those programs. You mentioned we'd finished second in the Commissioner's Cup. We were the defending champions. Sure would have liked to have done that. Hats off to UC Irvine. They had a great spring. But what I do find interesting is we actually finished first in the Big West in the Learfield standings nationally in terms of how programs score points nationally. So I thought that was pretty good for us that we outscored all our opponents in the Big West Conference pretty handily in the Learfield Cup.
Well, so many new facilities, including this beautiful Comerford Pavilion that we're sitting in right now. It's got a terrific view of much of the campus and many of the facilities here. And as you look back at the year that was, you mentioned top of the standings in that Learfield Cup and second Big West Commissioner's Cup. What were some of the highlights of the year beyond what we saw with baseball and what we saw with beach volleyball?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot. One of the things I was most excited to see is when the men's basketball advanced to the Big West semifinals. We had to get there the hard way. If you're the top two seeds, they protect those seeds, they get buys. So I ended up having to play UC Irvine, who I think was a 2 seed, after they hadn't played at all. And that was our third game in a row. And we were beating them through halftime. I think what we're seeing being built by Coach DeGeorge with men's basketball is going to be something that's going to be really exciting to watch this year. A lot of newcomers coming in. Obviously, he loaded his roster with some transfers and some age. And as any basketball coach will tell you, if you want to win, you got to have an old roster. Old is inexperienced. Well, we had that. A lot of those guys have now graduated from Cal Poly, so now we're having to reload, and I think you're going to see a little more international friendly roster than what we've traditionally been used to. A bit of a United Nations, and that's a blueprint that a lot of teams in Division I have followed. And I'm going to be curious to see how that comes together. I think you're going to see a lot more talent than we've had in a long time, and I think you're going to see the same style of play that you saw all year this year, which is fun. It's run and gun, threes and dunks. I think it's what fans want to see. They're going to see a high-scoring, high-flying offense, and it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't finish towards the top of the standings next year. I think with some of the other sports, in terms of just kind of the excitement that we've seen this year, I go to even back to what we've accomplished in tennis and golf. So we've done for tennis, as you mentioned, what we've done for baseball. It may take a year or two to fully see that impact, but our women's tennis program, won the conference a year ago. They finished second this year. Our men's program had a down year by our standards, but Coach Carlos and the way he recruits and the way he develops talent, that's 1 year. We're going to be back at the top of the roster, back at the top of the standings again this year, pushing for those NCAA championships. For what we're doing in golf, sticking with the spring sport theme, both of those sports, I believe, had a down year by our standards, and I think our coaches would admit that. Our women's program, I think, it won 3 conference titles in a row, finished second last year, and this year was towards more the middle of the pack. But we're reloading those rosters right now. We did have NCAA qualifiers in both men's and women's golf. One of the things I'm going to be really proud of is I kind of looking towards what retirement's going to look like for me is we want to wrap up some of the investments we're making in the Mustang Golf Academy. And one of those is a Tom Lehman designed practice facility out there, short game practice facility that we're going to start construction on shortly. And we hope to have it, everything planted and ready to go by spring. So we're on it at this time next year. That will allow them different kinds of grass on greens, different kind of, chip shots, anything from 40 yards and in, they'll be able to practice those shots. The analytics has told us that's where we're losing shots on the course. So we're going to really invest in trying to make up those shots so our golf team can be top 25.
Track and field, men's and women's side at a first and second place finish. That program continues to be a powerhouse here.
Man, Coach Ryan Van Hoy has just has done everything we could ever ask of him and more with not only how he's recruited talent to bring them in this new transfer portal era and NIL era, how he's retained student athletes. He's had All-Americans every single year that he's been here, and that's going to continue to grow and develop. But he's built us into a dominant force in the Big West Conference. I know what he now aspires to do is turn this into a top 25. So he's doing this the right way. He's going to build it slowly, one student athlete at a time, get a little bit better every single year. And I see us being a perennial top 25 program in both of those sports in short order.
This summer has kind of given us a spotlight on Cal Poly athletics. You got Brian Wu in the All-Star game, a Mustang baseball alum. Kobe Sanders, who played 4 years here, was a second-round pick of the Clippers, doing pretty well out there in the NBA Summer League. How proud are you of some of these guys that we saw here not all that long ago playing on the biggest of stages?
Yeah, it's pretty wild to see people you know and know so well succeeding at that level. I remember Brian coming in. I remember both of those guys coming in as freshmen and seeing just how they've succeeded and grown. Obviously, we all track Brooks Lee and Haniger and everybody else that we have that's still able to play at that high level. But it gives us something we can point to. So when we're recruiting a basketball student athlete, we have a guy who got drafted this year. You can do that here. He's our second NBA guy. Obviously, we know, our other did not get drafted, but had a pension career in the NBA. So it's a message that our coaches get to send that can you make the NBA from Cal Poly? Yes, you can. Can you make Major League Baseball from Cal Poly? Yes, you can. You can do all of these things. And you can also get, a top 10 public university education at a place like this. So you can accomplish all of these. I think where we're going to be a little bit challenged going forward is with the NIL era, in terms of how the transfer portal has impacted schools like us, is that we're going to lose some transfers to paychecks, and that's just going to happen. And it's frustrating. We're all going to face this. We're all kind of in this boat at our level of Division I. But what we developed is the Players Trust. We announced that a few months back, and it's an active fundraising campaign for us to be able to retain some of these great players, where we're able to say, we're not going to be able to pay somebody $500,000. That's just not what we're going to do. But what we can do is supplement their scholarships with what they call Alston, with what they call cost of attendance, and other ways that we can say, hey, we want you to stay here. We're going to be able to give you some more money to be able to do that fits within scholarships. But if somebody offers you $300,000, I think you got to factor in what that quality of that education is going to do for you long-term versus what we can do here. Also, providing the best student-athlete experience that we can, which I believe we do. Making sure that they feel like this is their home, they're treated with respect, dignity, kindness at all times. They're growing and developing as an athlete, they're growing and developing as a human. We forget, this is supposed to be the human growth and development business, and I think NCAA's lost that. It's just gone now. I don't want us to lose that at Cal Poly. President Armstrong does not want that to happen. So we're going to continue to focus on the educational benefits of our university. And if somebody after being here for a year or two takes a payday to go somewhere else, we will wish them well. But at the same time, we need to be able to at least make an effort to try to retain.
When you look ahead to the year that will be, and it always gets started there at Mustang Memorial Field, and if you've driven past Mustang Memorial Field any time of the last calendar year, you have seen the budding progress of the John Madden Football Center. Where are we with that, and how excited are you for that to finally be done?
So once we kick off, I think our fans are going to see walls up. They're going to see it fully enclosed. We will not be able to be in it until at the end of the season, but that is exactly on schedule. When we started this whole process, we did not want to have to move in during a season. We're going to take the time to do our punch list and do everything appropriate, move into it right at the start of the first of the year. We are on budget. We are on time. We're not done fundraising. We're still a little bit short of where we need to be, a few $1 million, but it's going to be a game changer, obviously. And I mentioned what we did with baseball, with the Dignity Health Baseball Clubhouse and the other improvements we've made. With Spanos adding the beer garden in the north end zone, adding the John Madden Football Center in the south end zone, those improvements are going to be game changers for football. It's going to create a clubhouse culture that we've been lacking in football. When our football team meets, they need to find a place that'll hold 130. There's only a couple of places on campus, and they're not housed in athletics. This allows that. So this creates that culture and chemistry where we're together now all the time. So I think it's gonna be a much better opportunity in terms of that chemistry and cohesion, player development, in terms of being in that clubhouse all the time. They're gonna want to watch film more. Like they're just gonna sit at terminals and watch video and film and do all the things that you want them to do when they're just sitting, which is exactly what baseball does. It gives them a space to go between classes. Maybe they watch film, maybe they study, maybe they even put their feet up and play Madden for 45 minutes between class. So whatever they need to do, we want them to have that opportunity to have a true home and a clubhouse culture. And then in addition, the sports medicine and the weight room is going to help us develop that talent, make them bigger, stronger, faster, healthier in all ways. And they will have their own space to do all of that. I couldn't be more fired up for what that's going to mean for Cal Poly football.
We're certainly fired up for the John Madden Football Center and for the 25-26 athletic year. We'll have another episode coming up on your retirement. We'll touch on that and why that decision was made and what you're most proud of as you leave behind this legacy well over a decade at Cal Poly. But until then, this has been the Mustang Report. For Don Oberhelman, I'm Chris Sylvester. We look forward to the beginning of the 25-26 Cal Poly athletic year early next month as the men's and women's soccer teams kick things off.